Hello, this is a Brave Knight Mercenary spotlight on Velfern. Velfern is a legendary magician and is one of the 8 Dominus Octos. He is the king of vampires and has an obsession towards having unlimited power. Velfern's companion is Elmahav, and he is the first original vampire. Elmahav was friends with Velfern when Velfern was still human. Elmahav felt that Velfern was worthy of wielding part of his power, so he bit Velfern, but Velfern betrayed Elmahav by taking the key to the door of the abyss in search of infinite power afterwards. These dudes are obsessed with power. They should come visit America sometimes. They might make good businessmen. I'll briefly go over Velfern's skills, gameplay style, and provide some of my opinions on him. I won't be going over the details of his skills, but just the general parts of it. I linked the Brave Knight Encyclopedia in the video description where you can easily read on his stats and skill values. Velfern's first skill is Darkness Bash. Velfern deals fixed additional damage after normal attack based on the number of debuffs on the enemy. If the enemy has 1 debuff, it deals its base damage. If the enemy has 4 debuffs, it deals 4 times the amount of damage. If the enemy has no debuffs, then no damage is done with Darkness Bash. At plus 3 and above, Darkness Bash also comes with a stat enhancement that boosts Velfern's defense before normal attack by 95%, which pushes him to 100% after his base defense is taken into account. This ensures that Velfern will not die to most counters when he attacks. The defense boost lasts for 2 turns total, so if Velfern immediately gets hit afterwards, he can shrug off the attack unless it's fixed or direct damage. Velfern's second skill is Death Absorption. Velfern deals fixed additional damage to enemies in proportion to the number of graves on both sides whenever he attacks. The fixed additional damage scales with his attack value. Each grave will create another fixed additional damage component. It's important to view it this way because he's not necessarily doing more damage by having more graves, but rather he has more instances of additional damage by having more graves. This is what allows him to kill Seto if there is enough graves on the field, because Velfern gets so many additional damage components from Death Absorption that he could one-shot him. This is also why he may struggle to kill the likes of Levia, Asmode, or Grandhilder, because they heal incoming damage taken for each separate damage source. At plus 12, Velfern also gains an attack boost for every grave created. The attack boost is not removable nor affected by buff prohibition. Velfern's third skill is Energy Guard. This is a guard skill that grants Velfern a shield with an HP value. All non-direct damage that Velfern receives will impact his Energy Guard first. The max health of the shield scales with Velfern's attack value at the start of battle. If you adjust Velfern's attack during battle, the energy shield will not readjust. Every turn, however, Velfern will regenerate his energy shield based on his attack value. His attack value can fluctuate and is likely to increase as graves are being created. This means that Velfern's energy guard regeneration will improve as battle continues. Energy guard will remain active until the duration of it runs out or when it's completely depleted. Once broken, it will never come back. It's possible to do enough damage to simultaneously break through energy guard and Velfern's own actual life, effectively one-shotting him. Velfern's awakening skill is Debuff Immunity. Velfern is immune to all debuffs. At plus 11 and above, Velfern also gains 50% incoming damage reduction. Out of the 4 updated Octos of the second batch, Velfern is most like his original counterpart. Velfern is an all-around versatile mage with large emphasis on powerful AoE payoffs while being surprisingly durable. Velfern's combination of his Energy Guard, Debuff Immunity, and the incoming damage reduction that his Debuff Immunity provides all work together to make him very tanky. Velfern's Energy Guard scales with his attack by a massive amount. With plus 10 and above, Velfern gets 700% of his starting attack value as an Energy Guard. An awakened Velfern with low budget runes can have at least a 25,000 HP Energy Guard, and this will only go higher as you opt to rank boost or run better runes on Velfern. Velfern has a lot of fixed additional damage components thanks to his first 2 skills. He can do insane damage to those who are not debuff immune, as he has a multiplier based on the amount of debuffs applied onto enemies. But more importantly, he gets most of his damage off of his second skill, which amplifies his damage based on the number of graves. He also further increases his attack value based on the number of graves on the field. He can be very dangerous as the battle goes on. Most dangerous of all, however, is his plus 15 spike. Velfern gains a unique 2-tile diamond AoE attacks when he reaches plus 15, which can be very powerful. A 3x3 tile is already strong as it is, but it has some limitations, but his new attack tile at plus 15 is much more difficult to beat. I'll go over what Velfern counters. Velfern's multitude of fixed damage modifiers makes him very strong for killing any unit that relies on 100% defense to survive, but even beyond that, Velfern is very good at taking out units that don't have high HP values. Celia, Belieth, Falze, Raphithia, and many others are very vulnerable to Velfern. Even units that are fairly tanky like Valtor and Mercenary will suffer a lot of damage from Velfern. Velfern can easily pop Mercenary's first energy shield, whereas Valtor runs risk to dying to Velfern if he doesn't have an HP boost up yet. Velfern is also adept at taking out Seto as well, so long there is at least 9 more graves on either side. Remember that his second skill applies separate fixed damage components for every grave on either side. 9 graves is the most reliable number for Velfern to one-shot Seto. You can make do with less graves if Seto has less HP. Velfern is also adept at tanking Seto due to his high health energy shield. Seto is predictable in that he can't be buffed, so his damage is generally capped around 27k give or take. Velfern can reach far beyond that health value with his energy guard, so Seto alone has a lot of issues breaking through that energy guard. Speaking of tankiness, Velfern is unique in that his effective health value is based around his attack, but his base HP is fairly low. This means that HP scaling attacks are far less effective on him, which makes units like Angelica, Lucius, Mercenary, Caleron, and Asmode overall far less effective on him. He can also survive Levia's AoE. Velfern is overall pretty good at tanking many things. If enemy units are not properly buffed, Velfern can easily shrug off those hits. I'll go over some Velfern counters now. Velfern's fixed damage has some conditions that need to be met in order for it to really hurt. His first skill depends on debuffs, while his second depends on graves. If neither are prevalent, then his damage could be deceptively low. This is why subunits with the ability to heal incoming damage could survive Velfern's attacks. They can heal each separate portion of Velfern's additional damage component. Velfern would need to overpower their healing with more graves. Some major examples of these characters are Asmode, Levia, Cowley, and Gran. Jin's interaction with Velfern is fairly interesting. Jin can reflect up to 5 instances of additional damage back to Velfern, which can have Velfern kill himself. Jin however needs enough defense to survive Velfern's initial normal attack, otherwise Jin will not reflect the additional damage components back. Jin can live if Velfern doesn't have enough graves, which allows Jin to reflect all of the incoming damage that Velfern is throwing at him. But if there are too many graves, then Jin will run out of return counts and still die. He may trade with Velfern however. Units that are very tanky and have high amounts of health or other defensive mitigations can be tricky for Velfern to kill. Some guard mechanics are hard for Velfern to break, so he may have troubles by the likes of Lucius, Kalen, Arcan, Susera, Yuri, and Glacia. Cecilia can absorb Velfern's AoE, so she could always be used to save your team once from a Velfern attack. She may be able to live given that she has 50% incoming damage healing, but don't get your hopes up since Cecilia isn't the most tanky unit. Blocking Velfern's devastating AoE should be more than enough value however for Cecilia. Velfern himself is pretty durable and can survive many different types of random hits, but a dedicated, powerful, and focused strike can take Velfern down. A buffed hit from Eden, Yuri, Nartis, or Gunther can easily one-shot him. Direct damage also ignores his energy guard, so Alec, Valze, and a direct hit from Levia can also take him down as well. So some synergies with Velfern. Velfern is fairly self-reliant and can be utilized in many compositions. Velfern himself really likes having Celia on his team however. Celia is one of the only characters that can apply a debuff onto debuff immune units, which allows Velfern to capitalize on his first skill and deal more fixed damage onto debuff immune units. Typically debuff immune units are unharmed by Velfern's first skill, but Celia can play around that. Velfern's large AoE is also well complemented by Celia. Celia can apply her large AoE to remove buffs like Belieth or Galenia's buff, and Velfern can finish them off from there. This also works well the other way around. Velfern can also work on solo comps given that he's a fantastic mage component in that composition. The defensive and offensive boost that Sola can present to Velfern is well utilized on him. Velfern runs risk into getting stuck on guard units, so having Alec, Mercenary, or Levia unblock him can be very valuable. Velfern also shares a set bonus with Valze and Mercenary that boosts attack. This is a fantastic set bonus given that it will help Velfern increase his attack prior to battle and greatly boost his energy guard. Not to mention that Mercenary and Valze can utilize the attack boost as well. Okay, so for my opinion, Velfern saw a lot of interesting shifts in his viability throughout my 2 years plus of playing this game. He went from absolute best character to not so best back to decent. With the new Octo companion patch, Velfern got updated, but out of the 4 Octos, his skill set and gameplay identity is nearly unchanged. The initial impression that some may have with Velfern is that he isn't as tanky as he was before, since he no longer runs Vitality runes, and his energy shield scales with his attack now. But Velfern's scaling on his attack and his new permanent incoming damage reduction causes him to run fatter energy guards that take less damage now. Because Velfern runs more offensive runes now, he can hit harder overall, and he already hit pretty damn hard before. He gained the ability to permanently increase his attack value for every grave on the field, which just further pushes his potential damage. And finally, most important, his plus 15 tile range is just outright nasty. That diamond range is ridiculous and it's difficult to play around. Velfern is a mage that really carries a sense of dread with his presence. If you see Velfern, you know that this dude could potentially end your career. That's the kind of pressure he exudes. The moment I see this guy on the field, I have to respect him and figure out a way to take him out, or draw his aggro in a way that doesn't kill off the rest of my units. It goes without saying that Velfern is fantastic in all contents of this game. So the question begs, should you build Velfern? My answer is yes, Velfern is really good. Jumpstart 3 gives you the option between choosing Mercenary or Velfern, and you can't really choose wrong in this situation. Mercenary is overall the less taxing and more versatile build. She is seen as the winner between the 4 updated Octos for the most improved, and she is the closest among the 4 to a must-have, while Velfern is mostly a very nice to have. Mercenary is also considered to be less expensive to build since she reaches her peak with plus 12. Velfern's skill progression has been reworked to be a lot more lenient towards lower skill levels now, but he doesn't see major spikes until plus 15. Plus 11 is a nice spike in his defensive boost since he gets permanent 50% incoming damage reduction, and plus 12 is where he gets his grave attack boost, but plus 15 is where his amazing diamond attack tile is locked behind. And yeah, asking anyone to plus 15 a legend is a very tall order. He's decent at most skill ranks however, and benefits off of slow building due to his very steady progression. Plus 15 may not seem like a huge jump, and it's just a 4 tile extension on his vertical and horizontal range, but after experiencing the power that is plus 15 Velfern, the 3x3 Velfern feels like a fairly tiny one in comparison. Velfern is a fantastic build overall if you're looking for an all-around mage. He's outright terrifying when he's deployed and can easily win you the game off of one successful attack. He has a perfect combination of balance between offensive and defensive power and simple and complex mechanics. Thanks for watching my Velfern Mercenary Spotlight. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, comment if you want. Thanks.